Hey everyone, today is another TFT video. So we're getting updates every single week right now. We have a kind of smaller one, which is what we had last week, so the B patch, and then we have a bigger one that kind of coincides with the big league patch. I'll put up the graphic the Riot gave out that shows you what is being changed. So Knights, Ninjas, Nobles, and Voids, they're getting reworked completely, and then we're going to have adjustments to Assassins and Yordles. We're going to have nerfs to Kennen, Ionic Spark, player damage, Demons, and Dragons as well, and then buffs to Ashe, Karthus, Kindred, Yasuo, the Streak system, Guardians, and Pirates. We also have a couple of future changes as well to Brawlers and Shapeshifters, which we'll cover at the end of the video. They're not really listed anywhere on the PB at the moment, right? I haven't released a list or anything, so I've actually gone into a few games on the PB and noted down all of the changes so we can go over them now in this video. First up, we're going to look at the reworks. Obviously, as reworks, these are the biggest things of the patch pretty much, and all four of these will feel very different now in 9.15. So the first one is the Knights. So right now, Knights block damage from basic attacks at 2, 4, and 6 Knights for 20, 40, and 80 damage. It makes your Knights very tanky, especially early game, but it doesn't really scale as well because 80 damage block later just isn't going to cut it. They've actually changed that now to all allies block damage taken at 2, 4, and 6 Knights, and they block 15, 30, and 55 damage. So it is going to be less damage, but only 5, and then only 10, and then only 15. So actually, like, as you go up, it's not really reducing that much, but now it applies to absolutely everybody. If you have 2 Knights in a comp of like 8 units, all 8 are going to have this block damage. Obviously, if you have 8 and you're only blocking 15 with 2 Knights, it's not really going to do too much, but if you are using Knights to protect others in your team, it works so much better. I definitely think we'll see some more Knights, especially where there actually is some synergy. So like with Nobles or with Glacial comps, for example. We might as well go into our Nobles then as well, because this is going to be really different. So right now, it's 100 armor and 35 health on hit, right? This is exactly why it's so good early game. 100 armor is ridiculous. Most units have 20 to start with, so you're having like 120 versus 20. No wonder they take no damage and they heal on top of that. The problem is though, later into the game, especially against magic, like Nobles stand absolutely no chance, and you need 6 of them. You need KO, right? Which sometimes is quite hard to find. So now it's going to be 60 armor, 60 magic resist, and 35 health on hit. So you're basically swapping some armor for some magic resist as well, which means now they're going to be equally as good against AD and AP comps and still have the health on hit. It is working in exactly the same way though. So when you have 3, it's just a random ally, and when you have 6, it's going to be to all allies. I think this definitely makes Nobles a lot more viable in the game. You can't just get completely countered if someone's running demons or they're running sorcerers or something like that. You at least stand a chance. The next one we're going to look at are ninjas. So ninjas right now have the 40% AD to 1 ninja, and then they have 80% to all ninjas if you have all 4 of them. On the PvE, that has changed. They're going to have 40 AD, not 40% AD, just 40 extra AD, and now 40% spell power as well. When you have all your ninjas, that is going to be up to 60 AD and then 60% spell power. Again, just a flat 60 AD and not the percentage that we have at the moment. This means that if you stack AD items on a Zed or a Kennen, for example, they don't go out completely out of control, which is going to be really good. But it does also make a Kali, I think, a little bit better, as well as stuff like Kennen. That's pretty scary for me because I feel like Kennen is already pretty insane, and now you're going to give him a 40% spell power bonus if he's the only one out there. The last rework that we're going to have in this patch is going to be Void Champion. So right now you gain 50% arm penetration when you have your 3 Voids out. That is going to be changing to Void Champions now deal true damage. It says nothing about allies at all, just your Void Champions deal the true damage. In a way, this is kind of like making it twice as good, obviously, because you have 100% arm penetration. But also, one thing about this is they don't specify whether it's just basic attacks anymore or whether it's actually abilities as well. If it is abilities as well, then early game, I guess your Kha'Zix is going to be a bit more of a carry with Void buff, and later your Cho'Gath, if there's a massive AoE circle with his ultimate and that's all dealing true damage, that is going to be an absolute chunk of damage. The only problem that I can see with this is that a couple of your Void Champions don't really do damage. So your Cassidy and your Rek'Sais, they're not really there to do damage, so dealing true damage is nice, but it's not exactly crazy. Even Cho'Gath is not really a damage champion, though his ultimate can do a good chunk, and I guess Kha'Zix is the only one there who's actually designed to do damage. Moving into our adjustments, so for the Yordles and for the Assassins, this is a little bit hard to talk about because I don't think they're actually final versions onto the PvE just yet. Assassin is still the same. It's 125%, which goes up to 350%, so there is no change there so far. The wording on the tooltip is still exactly the same. You still have the stealth, you still have the crit afterwards as well, so I'm guessing the Assassin class is going to be changed a little bit closer to the release date. With the autos, it is slightly different. So right now on live servers, you get 25% dodge chance when you have 3 and 60% when you have all 6. On the PvE, it is 30% for the 3 and it is 55% for the 6. So it's slightly different. It's better for your 3 and worse for your 6. If that is a change, it seems a little bit strange to me because more often than not, I'm seeing 3 autos used rather than the full 6. Like some people do use 6, but a lot of people just use Lulu, Veigar, and Cannon right now in a sorcerer comp. When you run it like that, when you're slotting it into a shapeshifter build, for example, or like a sorcerer build, something like that, that doesn't need all 6, but definitely wants 3 of them, then this is definitely going to be better. Now we're going to move into our nerf. So the big one here definitely is to Cannon to start with. So his ultimate damage is being reduced. Right now it is 350 at 1 star, it is 560 at 2 stars, and 770 at 3 stars. On the PvE, that has been changed to 250 at 1 star, so that's shaving 100 damage off, which is actually quite a lot. It's going to be 500 at 2 stars and 750 at 3 stars. What they're trying to fix, at least early game, is you can't just throw a Cannon into a comp, stick an item onto him, and he starts to actually do a ton of damage. 60 damage off 2 stars is probably not going to be that big because right now the issue more is actually you get a Cannon and you shove a Morelos on him, and that is just basically going to carry the rest of your game. Next up though, we have a nerf to Ionics Spark. So it's going to go down to 150 damage from 200. There actually is a bug right now as well that when you have your Ionics Spark on the bench, it still triggers in combat and it's still going to apply the damage. The issue with that is it applies the entire fight. You cannot kill the unit that has the spark and then it stops triggering. Basically, it's going to go the entire way through the fight. Hopefully they change that. I think it's still actually on the PB right now, but that definitely smells like a bug to me, but it's not going to be as potent. So 150 from 200, especially early game, shouldn't carry as many fights. Next up, we have nerfs to player damage, and I actually see this as kind of like a good thing. It is a nerf in terms of like it does less damage to the player now, but it's actually like a good thing for the game. So you take quite a lot less damage, especially early game from what I noticed. It took me a really long time to go out in this game that I tried when I was just messing around and trying to find all these synergies in this video. There are two sides to this though, because we're going to go into the streak system a little bit later, which basically makes it easier to lose streak now, and you're going to get a bit more gold from that as well. Combined with the fact that you take less damage, you could actually tank a little bit more early game and still come out on top at the end. The other side of this as well is that because players now take less damage, the games are going to be a bit longer. They're already quite long in my opinion, 35-40 minutes if you end up coming first, and now this is actually going to take even longer to knock people out. Another nerf that we can look at is to demons. So right now it is 25, 50, and 85% chance to mana burn at 2, 4, and 6 demons. Demons are pretty much in every single game right now. They're very strong, especially when you chuck a cannon in there. But now it's going to be down to 20, 40, and 80% chance to burn. It's just 5% using 2 of them, but it does go down from a 1 in 4 chance to a 1 in 5. So that does actually make a fairly big difference. The biggest part though is just losing 10% on your 4 synergy. So if you run 4 demons, you just don't stand a 50-50 chance of burning the enemy. The last nerf that we have are to dragons, but I don't think this is actually on the PvE right now because they're still immune to magic, same as now, and I can't find any nerf on them. I'd imagine that they're going to change this immunity down to like Dragon's Claw, where it's kind of like 80% immune or something like that, but for now at least, it still says immune to magic. Right, so let's go into our buffs. And the first thing we're going to look at is a streak system that we talked about a little bit before. They've changed the number values, basically. It's still the same kind of system, but now 2 to 3 gives +1, 4 to 6 gives +2, and 7 plus is going to give +3 gold. The system as it works right now is it's 2 to 4 gives +1, 5 to 7 gives +2, and 8 plus gives +3 gold. In essence, they've just reduced the thresholds by 1, so now it's quicker or easier to get to the next threshold, I guess, which probably makes win streaking a little bit easier, but also makes loss streaking a bit more viable. One of the others being changed and buffed though is Guardians. So all Guardians and adjacent allies receive +30 armor. That is how it is now on live servers. On the PvE though, it's granting 50 armor to adjacent allies, and it specifies that it can stack. It does already stack on live servers, 99% sure, so you shouldn't have to worry about that part. And some sites say it gives 30 and some say it gives 40, so it's one of the two. Either way though, one of the good things about this is that you're going to throw these into a noble comp most likely anyway, and they're losing a bit of armor, so the extra armor you gain from Guardians kind of makes up for the lack of noble buff. Basically, if you throw Guardians into a noble comp, it kind of counters the nerf to it and just makes it a straight up buff, which I think is going to be really good. The other class or origin being changed is going to be pirates, and it just really seems like the chance is higher to get more gold. Obviously, they don't release the numbers, so I can't specify any more than that on the PB currently at the moment, which is a shame, but I would just say I used it the entire game to test it, and I got 0 gold once. Normally, I get it a lot more. Of course, it's RNG, it could just be that as well, but it feels like the chance to get gold, at least 1 gold, is much higher than it is on live servers. The other buffs we have are to 4 champions. Now, obviously, I don't know what the champions at 2 and 3 stars are going to be. It might well increase like often more as well as you go up, but I didn't have the chance to 2-star or 3-star these champs. As an example, Ashe gets 5 more AD now to start the game at 1 star, and she might get more than 2-star and 3-star and stuff, but just at least we know that she is going to have a bit more AD. But they're actually doing this with a lot of others as well. So for example, Kindred is getting 10 more AD at 1 cost, and Yasuo is getting 10 more AD as well. I've actually saved the biggest buff until last though. So Karthus is getting a change. So right now it's 4, 7, and 10 targets depending on the star rank for 350, 600, or 850 damage. On the PvE though, it's going to go up. So it's going to go 5 targets, 9 targets, 13 targets for 400, 700, and 1000 damage. The damage might not look crazy. It's going up 50, then it's going up 100, and then 150. I think that's actually quite a lot anyway, but like that's not even the biggest part. The biggest thing is that it targets 1 more person at 1 star. It targets 2 more people at 2 stars, literally the entire team. Last thing is future changes. So just like a future-proof stuff, like we don't know what these are going to be just yet, but we're getting some more shapeshifters and brawlers eventually into the game. The brawler buff is now changed from 2-4, just 2-4 as well, to now have a 6th tier. So it's going to be still 300, 700, but it's now 1,200 health when you have 6 brawlers. Right now, we only have 5 brawlers. So obviously another champion, another brawler is being added to the game to make it up to 6. Same thing with shapeshifters. Right now we have a 3 buff that is 60% bonus health, and we now have a 6 buff, which is going to be 120% bonus. So those are going to be all the changes for TFT in 9.15 that I could find on the PB. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching until the very end. And for now, I will leave you with robots.